Hey guys, welcome back to Paulie Sleepers special edition this week. I've got Jackson Mears with me who helped me get on RotoDen. I mentioned him before. Jackson and I have talked about doing this together for a few weeks now, and this week is going to be the perfect week to have a dual view, as it were, because it's my tip of the week is to not listen to what one person says. I mean, all of the analysts will tell you the same thing. You know, none of us get this right all the time. Obviously, if someone could do that, they could make a really, really, really good living. We're going to talk about exposure this week too. Shout out to my buddy Josh Miller, who always talks about, hey, you know, you might have too much invested in this one guy. And last week, it was Todd Gurley. I had too much Todd Gurley. I pitched him really hard. So hopefully if you liked everything else I was talking about and faded Todd Gurley, then you probably did really well. Jackson called me about an hour before the game. What was it on Sunday to tell me about A.J. Green?
It was about 12 o'clock. And the starting corner for the Bills, last name Gaines, had B.J. Gaines, the one that was traded for in the Sammy Watkins trade. He was ruled out, and then that put Tre'Davious White up against A.J. Green. I think Green went off for 9 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. I mean,
40 points on DraftKings. So we had it. We didn't do it. He was just priced really weird, and I didn't have hardly any exposure to the guys that were above him in pricing, so it was really hard to just do like a global swap. So that was the play last week, and hats off to you guys if you played A.J. Green with the other guys I was talking about. We're going to do rotoden.com this week again, so look for us on there. And we're going to be putting up these wide receiver cornerback matchups that Jackson always deals with and looks at. It's his main weapon. We're going to put that up on the screen for about 10 seconds. There's not going to be any audio, but that's what we're going to be referencing to in this video. So take a screenshot of that and look at that, and then also you get that from Pro.
Yeah, I got a subscription to Pro Football Focus. It was $39, but I mean all their analysis, and one of the best things about Pro Football Focus is their cornerback wide receiver analysis matchup chart, and what that does, it kind of differentiates who's facing who has a better matchup, who lines up in the slot, left, right. So when you guys see this sheet here in the next couple of seconds, where it says you're going to look for a box that has if it's green, it means that there's an advantage. So those receivers are in good matchups. But other than that, it's kind of self-explanatory. But here you go, guys. Here's a sheet for you.
Coming now. Okay, so that was the wide receiver cornerback matchup that we'll be reviewing and referencing throughout the video. Getting into it, Bears at Ravens. Trubisky, second start, didn't impress me too much with the first start. He got off to a good first quarter. A lot of people were saying, oh, he looked good for the first quarter. Unfortunately, there's 4 quarters of football. I like the Ravens D's to feast at home. I played them on the road last week, and it was a good 12 points. Ravens 18 points first week, 25 points the next week. Then they went away, and they got burned in London by the Jags, and I don't think people are thinking they're a play. They're definitely a play at home against a rookie quarterback. So that's what you could pay up for on this, $3,700. Mike Wallace, I'm going to put him in my tournament plays for $4,300. He's done very well the last 2 weeks, 19.3, 17.5. He's getting the action, so I'm not going to go ham on him, but I like sprinkling him in a few of my cash lineups. I mean, if you do 10 lineups, I'd put him in 2 of them. Jordan Howard is $5,900. He's cheap for blow-up potential. I'm staying away. I don't like any of the other running backs in this game. I like a flyer on Zach Miller in a tournament play at $2,900. Rookie quarterback's best friend. He got the looks last week. He got like 14 points. I played him in some lineups. That's really all I like. Jackson, who do you like here?
I think I got you on Mike Wallace last week, didn't I?
Yeah, you told me Mike Wallace last week, and I put him in one, and it was great. I just forgot to stack him with Flacco. Yeah. And, actually, that worked out great because Flacco got like 8, so that wasn't the stack.
And my only problem was I pivoted off of Wallace for Macklin. and it completely bit
Yeah,
me. But
that
hey, you know
wasn't
what?
good.
You live and you learn. But yeah, after this game, I really like Jordan Howard. Baltimore is 17th in DVOA and run defense, and from weeks 3 to 5, they've allowed 246 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. At $5,900, I mean that's a steal for a dude. They're going to try to keep the ball out of Trubisky's hand, and this man's going to eat. On the other side of the ball, Buck Allen at 5,400. Chicago ranks 20th in DVOA against the run. Since the season, they've allowed 368 yards and a touchdown to every team they've faced on the ground so far. The best part about Allen is that the Bears have allowed 20 receptions through the air so far and 134 yards to running backs this season alone through 5 weeks. On the year, Allen already has 20 receptions. So, I mean, he's a PPR monster. And, I mean, if they're going to score, I think it's going to come from Allen. So, Allen with a Baltimore D is definitely a great play.
Excellent. No interest in Zach Miller here?
No Zach Miller. There's better pivots and better people around that price range.
So did you say Buck Allen had 20 receptions so far this year?
Yeah, 20 receptions on the year, even with a crowded backfield and Terrence West and Alex Collins.
So, that surprises me. I thought he just came on this last week. So, I mean, that's definitely a play there at $5,400. Jordan Howard, like I said, $5,900. You like the running backs here. I mean, if if it turns into a ground and pound game, which Bears-Ravens games, that could definitely happen. That might be a good play.
Or it turns into a Justin Tucker just kicked 5 field goals, and we don't play kickers on DraftKings.
Right. So, yeah, and I hate kickers, and that's why they're not on here. But so the next game is Pack Vikes at the Minnesota Vikings. Jordy Nelson draws Xavier Rhodes in this matchup. They're saying that maybe Adams gets 40% of the coverage. I mean, in either case, if Rhodes is out there, I mean he is just shut down. So I don't really like paying for either one of those guys. I mean, Adams is only like 5,500 this week. So I mean,
Adams 5,700.
Yeah, so Adams at 5,700, I'm not mad at that, but I'm not paying up for Nelson. I think the player is Randall Cobb. I think they'll have recency bias on him. I don't think he'll be high owned. After 6 points last week. But, I mean, before that, he's been averaging 6-7 targets a game, and he catches all of his targets. That's what I like. When you talk about all these target shares and targets, a lot of times targets aren't caught by some of these guys. Randall Cobb will catch his targets. I don't like Bennett in this matchup. Talk about Aaron Jones here for a minute. Pay attention to injuries. When Montgomery was out for sure, I ended up putting him in a few tournament lineups last week. He just absolutely feasted, 24 points. I think there's a timeshare there at least. Even when Montgomery comes back, if he comes back this week, I still like that play at $5,600. If Nelson sits, Geronimo Allison is always a play. Just kind of, if I don't mention him, just put that just as a rule. Just make that a rule. Make it rule number, whatever jersey number he wears. But either Nelson or Adams are out, or even Randall Cobb. He's going to get in there and do well. Jerick McKinnon's $4,100 this week. This is one of my sleepers of the week. I think this is tremendous value for a guy that's going to be toting the rock a lot for the Vikes. He catches balls too. He's 6 for 6 on reception targets last week, so he also caught all his balls. I don't think he's game script dependent. I think that at $4,100, this is a crazy play. The pricing came out, way before he started going off. That's the other great thing about this. I think they start working on pricing Sunday afternoon. By the time the Sunday night game comes, if you're watching these Sunday, Monday night games and guys blow up out of nowhere, it's a great play the next week. And also, Jerick McKinnon's been in that offense for a while. There's a lot of truthers out there. I mean, he's the play. They did spend a lot of money on the Raiders running back, Lat Murray. I don't think he's back really well from that injury. Adam Thielen is a great play at $6,000. If Diggs is out there or not, I love him at $6,000. He's been getting lots and lots of looks. I think he's a great play in cash or tournament games. Rudolph has a bad matchup here, so I don't know about that one. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'm actually going to take the approach you look at Aaron Rodgers, and that's a good deal. Rodgers is, even though Minnesota does have a good safety combination as well as a shutdown number one corner, on the year so far through 5 games, they've allowed 1,146 yards through the air, but only allowed 6 touchdowns. That is kind of concerning that you're not getting those points, but you will get the yards. So if you're looking for Rodgers to get you 2 touchdowns and 300 yards, that's a decent
He'll get it with his legs too, so
that's a decent.
It's definitely not a bad play. I mean, you can never knock on Rodgers.
Next person I would if I was going to do a Rodgers, I would definitely stack with Cobb. Cobb's matched up against 79-year-old Terrence Newman.
Is he still playing football? I thought he was retired on Madden.
I don't know. Last time I bought Madden, I think Vince Young was on the cover. So we all know how that went. But Cobb just has a great matchup. I mean, the dude's so shifty, and I think he can outrun a 39-year-old, honestly. Other person I think could be a benefactor is Martellus Bennett. On the year so far, Minnesota's allowed 18 receptions and 3 touchdowns to tight ends. I think this is the week for Bennett to score his first.
You think he'll get his touchdown?
I think he will, just because, I mean, where are you going to funnel targets to?
Well, if he scores this week, and whenever he scores, he'll be the first tight end in history to score on 4 different teams. Yeah. So it's going to happen. Not a bad play there at all.
And then McKinnon on the other side. Green Bay ranks 31st in DVOA against pass-catching running backs. And last week he went 6 for 6 for 51 yards.
So you like that play?
I think
it's a no-brainer. I don't think people will have it. I don't think they'll scroll down far enough to see him. He's
keep going, but
way down there with like LaDainian Tomlinson, I think.
He out-touched Murray on the ground. I mean, it's just a good matchup for the price. And then also Adam Thielen on the year. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is for the Vikings. He's yet to see under 6 targets in a game. And he's in a plus matchup against a corner that just got freaking boosted and torched by Cole Beasley for 4 catches and 2 touchdowns.
Wow. Yeah, okay, so that's good.
And even if Diggs is hurt with the rib injury, I think you fire Thielen up and you just go for it. So if
you're stacking here, do you like any stacks with you like the Cobb to Rodgers stack, but I mean, do you like doing some kind of stack here with the Vikings and like a McKinney Thielen stack? Do you like Case Keenum at home?
If I was going to stack, I would do a Rodgers and Cobb and then backtrace it with a Jerick McKinnon, or I would just do a Aaron Rodgers naked, because, I mean, hell, we could be wrong, and Nelson comes in the slot for one play, and he's wide open in the end zone.
Right. It's hard picking who's going to blow up on that team, so I do like the no stack, too. We're going to talk about doing a no stack here tonight a couple times, so I like that play. Anybody else here?
I think we're ready to move on to the next one.
Okay, so 49ers at Redskins, the Washington football team. I think this is a big game. I think Jackson might disagree. We haven't talked about this ahead of time, actually, but I trying to tell him that
it's all pure. 100% pure. So
I was trying to tell him that the 49ers-Cardinals game was going to be a big game last week, and he didn't believe me. He didn't buy it at all, and it was not. I got lucky, and Palmer threw one to Fitz at the end, and that ended up being a last-second fantastic stack for me. But no Josh Norman this week, so Hoyer to Garcon was a great stack last week, too. I mean, that offense almost kind of feeds through and runs through Garcon when Hyde is not feeling it, and Hyde's not feeling it. He's feeling it in his hip. Right now, he's got old man hip. He needs a cane. What do you think about Matt Breida here?
I got Hyde on my fantasy team, and it scares the hell out of me because I think Breida's taking over. But if you closely watch the Colts game last week, on that opening drive, Garcon torched the Colts. I mean, straight torched him. But then he only had 1 catch the second half. I mean,
yeah, he did get shut down later. That's true. He was on pace for like 20 catches.
I think
ended up with 10.
After the first quarter, he had like 16 PPR DK points, and it was like, okay, like that was nice. Like, let's see some more.
Right. I like that stack for $11,200. Hoyer to Garcon. It won some money last week. I'll do them in 10 or 20% of my lineups. I'm staying away from the running backs here. I like the Cousins to Pryor stack a ton. I think that rapport is being generated. It's kind of an expensive stack for me anyway, 12.5, but I think there's huge value there. I mean, I might have them in 30 to 40% of them. Vernon Davis, like I say, if I forget to talk about him, he's always a play if Jordan Reed is out. He's always cheap. He torches cornerbacks. I mean, he's $3,900 this week. I don't know what's going on with Jordan Reed. I think it's easier to talk about his healthy parts than list his injured ones. It would be quicker. Like I said, I don't think this is the blow up week, but I like those plays a lot. What do you think?
So kind of game scripting this one. I can see points. It's just going to be hard to depict where it comes from on the San Francisco side and also on the Washington side. Hoyer at 5,100 is not a bad play. I think you can play him in cash just because, I mean, if Hyde's not 100% healthy with his hip injury, I mean, and if you watch that game, Breida is a small dude. I'm pretty sure some of the Washington linemen are
Twice the
times
size.
I mean, that's the.
I'm not sold on that either. I mean, you mentioned that he might be a good play in cash, Hoyer. Now, I do a lot of tournaments. I mean, can you explain what your thought process is when you're doing cash? And this is like 50-50 pools, right?
50-50 double ups. So in cash, all I do is I figure out the math. I'm striving to get 140 total points. That's it. That's all I strive for. So what I'll do, say you got 5,100 for Brian Hoyer. So then you take that times 2.5. So you want 2.5 times the value. So 5.1 times 2.5.
So he needs like 11 points.
All he needs is 12.75
12 points
to make value.
Well, I like that. He got 15 last week. So, I mean, there's the cash play right there. And as we move forward, I hope you're on again. This is going out well. We're going to maybe do a week where we talk more about the cash games. Yeah. Anybody else here that you like?
Yeah, I mean, back to the Hoyer thing. Coach Shanahan for the Niners was the coordinator in San Francisco for a while back.
Okay.
So I mean, this is almost like that revenge narrative going back and facing that team. Staying away from Garcon, staying away from Hyde. Kittle, I think we're on a week too late. The guy that won the Millionaire Maker had Kittle. And it's not for that game, that last drive before overtime. He wouldn't have won the money. But the Skins have allowed through 4 games this year, 342 yards and 2 scores at the tight end position. For $3,400, I think you can do a lot worse. But Kittle's a good play. Kirk Cousins is too inconsistent for me on his point because of his rapport with new receivers and then some receivers being out. But the San Francisco cornerbacks, so on Pro Football Focus, what we referenced earlier, they do a ranking of cornerbacks for grading, and it goes out to 100. They grade out to 107 players, cornerbacks. The San Francisco cornerbacks are ranked 96, 99th, and their slot corner is 102nd. That is bottom 10% in the league.
So why don't you like Cousins to Pryor here?
I think the rapport is still a little wishy-washy. I mean, had it not, obviously they scored versus the Chiefs and Marcus Peters, but I think that was an offensive pass interference.
It was.
So,
it was.
But my play...
Cop didn't see it. I didn't do it. I remember you texted me that during the game, and I was like, yep, he definitely pushed off.
I'm not saying Cousins is a bad play, but I think for the salary and his consistency, it's not worth it.
No, that's a great point because, I mean, if not for the push-off, then, that stat line would have been a lot different. You like somebody else here, I see.
The guy that I love the most, and I am going to play him in every lineup, it is Chris Thompson for $5,000.
100% exposure.
100% exposure. For the sole fact reason, Rob Kelly is still not healthy, and Rob Kelly sucks at football. Easy as that. But on the year, the 49ers have allowed 35 receptions on 49 targets for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He catches a lot of balls. I mean, I think I have recency bias. His last game was bad, but that can get you into trouble sometimes. I mean, that's not a bad play. What's his price tag there?
He is $5,000, and I think 2 weeks ago when they played Oakland, he went for 6 for 7 for 150 yards and touchdowns.
So is this who you were talking about earlier when I mentioned somebody and you were like, yeah, at that price range, I like somebody else a lot better?
Chris Thompson's my guy. And then
so that's his play of the week, guys, is Chris Thompson. Sounds like one of the big plays of the week. All right, I like it.
And then the other person, just kind of quickly, Jameson Crowder, slot receivers, like I said, will torch the Niners. He's healthy.
He's 4,000.
He's 4,000.
Okay.
I think he is if you need salary dump off, I think that's a hell of a play.
Okay, there you go. That's why we brought Jackson here. He's talking about Crowder and Thompson, and I breezed past them. That's not bad plays there. Lions Saints, big game. Usually. Stafford got a little banged up. I think I said he left the game last week, but now I don't think he did leave the game last week. But he did end it on a bad note and looked.
He was hobbling.
Yeah, he was hobbling for sure. Interesting things going on in this game. Michael Thomas draws Darius Slay, so I don't know if I like him for the price. I don't know what to do with the Lions. You said Galladay was practicing today, and that just muddies it even more for me. I mean, you talk about playing somebody standing alone, a quarterback standing alone. If Stafford wasn't hobbled, that'd be my play this week. I don't know who he's going to throw to, but I like him to have a good week against the Saints. But the Saints D is a little bit better than what people have been giving them credit for. So I don't like Stafford. I like the Saints as one of my big Paulie sleepers plays this week. They've gotten 16 and 14 in the last 2 games. They're $2,700. They're at home, He's banged up. I love it. And then obviously stack that with Kamara. That worked good for me on the London game. I've been talking about Kamara since week 1. Now everybody's talking about Kamara. They didn't get it from me. I mean, he's been talked about. But, if you guys follow along with Paulie Sleepers, you know that I'm a big Kamara truther. Jackson took him from me in our work league when I had a spot. I didn't even realize we had an IR, and I could have moved a guy to IR.
Know your rules if you play season long.
Yeah,
know your rules.
Also, I do a lot of this cash game now, so I'm not really doing as much there as I should be. I did not realize I could put David Johnson on the IR slot. Anyway, so I love that play. I like Kobe Fleener, too, after Ed Dixon, who torched the Lions last week for 5 catches for 1 million yards. No touchdowns there, but in PPRs he got like 26 points. I mean, just a blazing day. And Kobe Fleener at 3,200 is a play. I like paying down for tight ends. Usually there's 2 or 3 every week that I tell you guys about, and these guys have been doing well. I said I'm the tight end whisperer here, guys. I won't talk about a lot of tight ends. They'll be cheap, and that's a cheap, great play, especially at home. Snead is 100% back. So a lot of people are going to say, look to him. That could be the one thing that kills Fleener. I'm not 100% exposed on him this week for that reason. So AP leaving to go to the Cards, I think makes Kamara a bigger play. Maybe Ingram a bigger play too. I just happen to be a bigger fan of Kamara right now. But again, I'm not doing any of the Lions wide receivers because I don't know what to do there, and I'm afraid of the Thomas to Slay hookup. So the only New Orleans guy I'm going to play is Fleener here and Kamara and the New Orleans D. What do you say?
So every week I'm on the show that I do come on, I wouldn't touch a guy with a 10. I wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole.
So we're making a new rule so you can use it now. Okay.
Yes, and my play comes from this game, and that is Matthew Stafford. I think he's hobbled, he's hurt, and he is not going into a good matchup. Over the past 2 weeks, the Lions have they faced their Lions D, or no, it's a Saints D, but it's not a good play. No matter what, even though Tate has a good matchup, Tate's not. I'm staying away from that entire.
Okay, so
thing.
we agree with that. So I mean, how much do you like the Saints on the other side? I'm going to kind of back off of them and do running backs.
Yeah, I'm not playing Breeze. I think Breeze is too expensive when you don't really know
$7,200. I'm not doing it.
Who his targets are going to go to. Kamara is a great play. I mean, Detroit since week 3 they've allowed Tevin Coleman to go for 3 catches for 45 yards, and they allowed Christian McCaffrey, thank God, to get his first touchdown last week.
A lot of people needed that.
Yes, a lot of people did. But I think my play of the game, you mentioned it a minute ago about them trading away an aforementioned, I think, washed up Hall of Famer. That was an AP, but I think Mark Ingram's a play here. For $100 cheaper, people are going to pivot on to Kamara.
So he's $100 cheaper than Kamara?
Yes. I think you pivot from Kamara to Ingram.
Not a bad play at all. No. What about pairing him with the D? Do you like that?
I like pairing him with the D. The Lions have only faced 2 top 10 running backs this year. And that is Devontae Freeman and Dalvin Cook. Devontae Freeman went for 106 and a touchdown, while Cook went for 66 yards and a touchdown. Ingram's a great play.
He's cheap, too. All right. On to Dolphins at Falcons. Jarvis Landry is $6,600 here. Parker's going to be out for a while. I think people are going to be tempted to play him. He draws Desmond Trufant. I'm not very tempted. I'm not tempted about anything about the Dolphins anymore. I was listening to somebody today that was like, well, we got to give Ajayi another week, and I'm not. He was done with me done for me a couple weeks ago. Again, he has no cartilage in one of his knees. That's why he fell in the drafts. That's why I was scared when they had the week 1 bye because of the hurricane that he wouldn't get a break. He already needs one. So I'm just totally staying away from that team. What do you say, Jackson? Would you like any of the Dolphins here?
Smoking Jay Cutler is not on my list this week. Neither is Ajayi. Jarvis Landry is he's the perfect cash game play because he will get you between 10 points and 20 points.
So you like him in cash?
I like him in cash.
Are you fading him in tournaments too?
Tournament, there's no upside.
For 6,600, there's so many other guys that I liked. I like Cobb. I like Terrell Pryor. I like a lot of those guys in that price range. So I'm fading him too. So no other Dolphins?
Julius Thomas is a punt option at 2,800.
Cash or tournament there?
Tournament. The Falcons are 16th in tight end DVOA, which they've allowed 16 catches for 270 yards.
So, will Cutler finally throw it to somebody? The dude's like 6'7".
Cutler's going to throw it to the opposing team.
Right, so that's where we're going to get into the Falcons D. You're not paying up too much for these guys. The Ravens are 3,700. They're 3,500. I love the play. The Dolphins are just completely falling apart. The Falcons D at home has put up some good numbers this year, and when they don't put up good numbers, they get 5 or 6, so it's not killing you. The problem is when some of these defenses just tank and they give you 0. I haven't talked about any of those and promoted any of those this year, so I haven't got burned on defense this year. I like the Falcons D. I like double stacking the Falcons D with Freeman and Coleman. I like the Coleman standalone play this week at $5,000. I like Freeman at 7,400. Jackson might disagree with me here because there's a lot of guys in that range. Fournette and Gordon and all those guys are in that range. But Freeman just feasts at home. He does great on turf. So I like the Falcons D with Freeman and Coleman. I did that stack sometimes last year, and it's a great stack. Coleman will get you 14 to 18, and Freeman will get you 15 to 30. So loving that one. Taylor Gabriel's tempting at 4,600 with Sanu out. But he missed all 5 of his targets last week. So that's why I was mentioning that earlier. It's nice to get targets, but you have to catch them. And 0 for 5 is not intriguing me too much at 4,600. There's a couple other guys I like in that range. Hooper, I think, is a good play. 7 targets last week after Julio and Sanu went down. The Dolphins are 28th versus the tight end, and that's 3,500. So he's going to be in probably 20-30% of my lineups this week. Ryan Julio is a expensive stack. I love Julio Jones, and you guys know that, but $9,300. I think Ryan is $7,200. That is a really expensive stack. That's way past my price point. So, what do you think, Jackson?
But it's also not a stack that people are going to play.
You think everybody's going to be scared off of that? So that's contrarian in a way.
That's 15,000.
You're probably right. More people will do Rodgers to Nelson, which is about the same price.
And they pay down.
And they're at home, and the Dolphins suck. So yeah, I like that. All right.
In my play, I think Devontae Freeman is the type of guy that when you play daily fantasy, if people aren't talking about him, he's going to do good. But when people are talking about him, he is going to do good. Like, no matter what people are saying, he's a lock for 18 carries, 75 yards, and a score. That's a lock. That's 18 points on DraftKings. Like, take it, lock it, move forward. Tevin Coleman's a good play at 5,000. Between him and Chris Thompson, the same price range, I'd be kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do there, but I'll still lean Thompson.
Well, what about both of them so you could pay up for a really big running back? And that's what I like to do. I like to use a running back down in the flex that catches balls, and then another one up at top that catches balls, and then a core guy. And Freeman's a good core guy this week. Would you pair him with Coleman and Thompson?
It's not a bad play. But
what about McKinnon throwing in there?
No matter who you're playing, you're looking at volume of what they're going to get. So if you use that flex spot, you're literally paying for a running back, but almost in a running back wide receiver position in a flex spot.
Right.
So theoretically, you're thinking about, hey, I just got 4 receivers, but I still have 3 running backs. Like, it's a counter.
I think it's an advantage, right?
It's a complete utter advantage.
I think a couple years ago when there was a lot more passing going on, it was much smarter to have the wide receiver down there, and that's what people still do. And for a couple weeks now, I've been throwing guys like Duke Johnson and the Arizona guy.
Ellington.
Yeah, Ellington, just cheap guys down there in that flex, and putting 2 more running backs at the top. So, anybody else here?
Julio Jones, 8,300. Miami's 30th against wide receiver ones. They've only faced 2 good wide receiver ones this year in Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas, where combined both went for 189 and a touchdown. it's a no-brainer play for 8,300 when you're getting $1,000 savings from Antonio Brown.
And if you miss on Julio's big week, it'll be like missing on AJ Green last week. So that won't take much convincing. 8,300. I thought Julio was 9,200. So I might play him at 8,300. We moving on?
Let's move.
Browns at Texans. Deshaun Kaiser was benched last week for Hogan. I mean, is it the wide receiver for the Patriots are now the quarterback there? Or I don't know. He's got legs, though, and he posted a 178 and 2 touchdown stat line and a half last week at $4,600. I mean, somebody that puts that kind of stat line up, I'm going to be interested, especially with the Texans getting decimated last week and losing Watt and then
Merciless.
Winston Merciless. Jeez. So I like that play. I would stack Hogan with Njoku for a cheap $7,600 stack, guys. This is the kind of stack that wins tournaments. You can load up in other positions for paying that kind of money for that 2-player stack. And Njoku's been getting these looks. He scored last week. I think he could put up 13 to 15 easy, maybe 8 or 9. But I mean, I'll take 9 points for $3,000. And then Hogan, I think he could put up 15 to 20 points too. So I like that stack. Duke Johnson was not targeted when Hogan came in the game. So I mean, not zero, but not targeted as much. So I'm a little scared there, but I'm definitely not scared for $5,100, and he's been winning me money. So he'll be in lineups. I just don't think I'm going to maybe go too crazy on him. I like Ellington more, and I like McKinnon more, but he will be in my lineups. So Duke's 5,100, 11, 22, 21, 17 the last 2 weeks. So Watson to Hopkins has been the big stack. I've played it the last couple weeks. I haven't given it in my giveaway lineup where I give my lineups out. I'm going to have to this week. I mean, it keeps getting more expensive, but Watson at 67, I think you're getting the value of that big Aaron Rodgers play. And his floor is just as high as Aaron Rodgers because of his legs, and his ceiling is just as high too because we've seen him put 35 up a couple times, 25 before that, 17 before that. So get him before he's $7,500, $8,000. Hopkins is 81. I mean, he's way up there, but I mean, there's not a lot of wide receivers I want to play up for this week. You've talked me into Julio Jones, but I want to pay up for Hopkins in this matchup. This is a great matchup against the Browns. Just can't cover anybody. They do not have Joe Hayden anymore. They decided they didn't want him.
But he wasn't that good anyway.
Really? I mean, I just perceived that he was good because he was the best they had. Maybe he wasn't too good either.
Cleveland's finest.
Fuller for $5,100. He has 6 catches in the last 2 weeks for 4 touchdowns. That's a crazy rate. I mean, all those touchdowns and so few targets. I mean, he is touchdown dependent. That's probably not what you want to do in a PPR format. But for $5,100 and for the blow up potential, I'm still going to do it. And I stacked all 3 of them last week to great results. What do you say?
I'm staying away. I mean, even though Duke Johnson is in a decent matchup with Watt and Merciless being gone, I see Cleveland struggling on the road. I mean, Houston is about a month and a half from the removed from the hurricane in Houston. So I mean, emotions are still raw. They're missing their leader in J.J. Watt. I'm fading the complete Cleveland side of the ball. Where I will lock in my quarterback of the week will be Deshaun Watson.
Okay, so we're in agreement there. So, I mean, what exposure are you doing? 100? Because you can't really do 100 at quarterback. But, geez, I did 50 last week, and I was hoping I did 75.
Yeah, I'll probably do closer to 50%. But,
okay.
I mean, Cleveland on the year has allowed 1,219 yards and 11 touchdowns through the air through 5 weeks. The sad part is they've only faced Pittsburgh, which is an offense that was week 1 struggled. Baltimore, Indy, Cincinnati, New York. Okay. They've literally not faced what
anybody
Houston can do to them. And I mean, Hopkins at 8,100 is still cheap.
So you're paying up for Houston's D this week?
I'm paying up for just Watson and Hopkins. I mean, it is expensive, but I mean, it's well worth it.
What about any interest in Houston D?
Nope.
The top value? No?
No
okay.
Interest in Houston.
I agree with you there. I thought you might disagree with me.
No, nothing on that.
Okay.
I mean, you look at wide receiver ones that go against Cleveland so far. They went for 32.2 DK points, 13.1, 31.3, 17.3, and 13.8.
That sounds like Hopkins' stat line, only he's a little better than that. I mean, I like that. So we're paying up for him there. I mean, you like Lamar Miller here?
Not touching him.
Okay.
Not touching Lamar Miller with
Okay.
Jamie Collins and then Myles Garrett being there.
Yeah, and Deontay Foreman coming in and taking looks. And I said earlier in the year that I'm going to like him at some point, like I did with Duke Johnson when I said, not yet, guys, but it's going to be time to play him soon. It's going to be time to play Deontay Foreman soon.
I agree with that. I mean, Cleveland's defense is a funnel defense to the outside for the passing. I mean, on the year they've only allowed 383 yards on the ground.
What about Fuller here?
His ceiling is 20 points.
But his floor is 0.
His floor is 2-3 points.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the Pats-Jets game. Big game. This is at the Jets. This is one that I think might be a trap into a running game script for the Pats because, the Jets show on paper to be tough against the pass, but it's really because they're so easy to run on. And, Brady missed some practice this week. It's his non-throwing shoulder. He's had this before. This is an ACL sprain or whatever sprain in his shoulder. So I think he might hand it off more. I mean, that throwing motion is going to be different, even if it's not your throwing shoulder. I think they're going to save him and run a bunch. So this is the contrarian play. Gillislee's $5,500. I'm going to go 30% on him, 40%, and get him in there. Dion Lewis has been getting some time. He would be a cash game or tournament play, I think, both for $3,800 here. I think this is a great contrarian play. I wouldn't go so crazy and pair the Pats D, though. That's really going downhill. So Hogan's $7,000. He's the top option in that offense. So, I think Brady's number one wide receiver should be priced closer to 8. I think, Cooks is $7,600 this week. Hogan is mispriced here, and this happens a lot, when the number one wide receiver isn't performing. That's why Thielen is a great play this week. That's why Hogan's a great play this week. I had them both a lot last week. Those are guys I love in that range. Amendola, $5,600. I had him a lot last week. I think his floor is absolutely like 12 or 13 points, so I'll take that. McGuire, I think that's a trap play. He's going to get a lot of looks, the coach said. Well, the other two guys are hurt, so yeah. He's going to get a lot of looks. I think they're just trying to pump him up. I don't think they're going to be in any kind of game script where they can, run and ground and pound. I like ASJ here for $4,300. I played him last week, and he was one of my big top tight end plays. You like him?
ASJ's my guy.
Okay, so that's a agreement
every week
there.
From now on, ASJ will be my tight end.
Oh, so we're just putting a stamp on him. Also, you're putting him in that slot and just
that
leaving him
offense
there.
sucks so bad, they got to throw it real quick because McCown's about to get sacked.
What about Curse at $4,800? They have been throwing it to him, and they're going to have to throw it somewhere. In the Pats, McCourty and those guys just aren't getting it done. $4,800 for a team that's going to have to be throwing all day. I kind of like that play in a tournament play. Are you doing any of that?
I'm not touching any of it. The only person I'll touch is ASJ. The Pats ranked 28th in DVOA.
What about the McCown to ASJ stat? McCown at $5,200. I played him last week. That one.
There's no upside to it. What's his ceiling? 16.
That he has to throw all game. No. I think his ceiling is probably closer to 24.
But if he's throwing all game, I hope to God that Malcolm Butler or Stephon Gilmore can intercept one.
Right. Yeah, and they probably will. I think he'll have enough volume to take a couple interceptions. But so we disagree there. That's fine. That's why you're here. Yeah. Anybody else who you like?
Gillislee. He's not a bad play. The Jets have allowed 715 yards on the ground this year.
Good, yeah. I think nobody will play that, and that's big upside. He could get another 2 or 3 touchdown game, right?
He got was it 2 or 3 the opening week, and he got 22 DraftKings points. But what scares me about him, he can get you the touchdown, but will he get you the yardage?
Well, he doesn't catch passes, so that's why people stay away from him. I just like him as a contrarian play.
Yeah, he's not a bad play.
Anybody else here?
I think he's more FanDuel, half point PPR, but ASJ is my guy. New England's allowed 21 catches for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns.
To tight ends.
I think.
So how much are you playing him this week?
Probably, he'll probably be in quarter of my lineups.
25%. All right. Anybody else here?
That's it. Let's move on.
Bucks at cards. Palmer, I talk him up every week. I play him every week. He throws for 300 every game. I know the touchdowns aren't there, but the volume is. Is he going to slow down because AP is in town? No, he's not going to do anything. I like the play here for Ellington. Palmer, all of his guys are back healthy, so I don't really like doing a stack with him. I think I'm going to stand him alone at 6,100. A little bit of exposure to him. There's a lot of other guys that I like better, so I'm do a lot more of Cousins and Deshaun Watson, way less Palmer this week. But Ellington is the must play at 1,800. Paulie sleepers. I've been saying play this guy. He catches a lot of balls.
5,300.
5,300. Okay, yeah.
If he was 1,800, he'd be freaking 80.
Oh, did I say 1,800? Yeah, I don't think anybody. I think that's below.
I think he would be 100% owned.
Yeah, I still think he should be like 60% owned.
He should be at like 7,000.
Yeah,
What his floor is stupid.
And his ceiling is there too. I mean, he's just going to be so steady. I mean, do you like him more in cash games or tournaments?
I think he's more of a cash game player.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
Take the field on him and then fade off him in tournaments with some other pivotal Chris Thompson plays.
What about 6,200 Winston?
He's not a bad play. I mean, Arizona's defense. Besides Patrick Patterson, that's it. I mean, they can be beat through the slot. I mean, look at what Nelson Aguilar went to the greatest university and in college football. He beat him last week, but I mean, I think that he's a decent play. But I mean,
what about my play of the week last week that I told everybody? Cameron Brate, how did he do? Do you like him this week?
Brate's a decent play.
3,900.
He's a decent play.
Decent. 13, 18, 18. They're like 17th against tight ends. I like it, I guess, way more than you do.
Yeah, I mean, up until last week, I mean, you hear all these analysts talk about how you don't play tight ends against Arizona. Well, thanks to Zach Ertz, we can play tight ends now. I mean, Zach Ertz and his abilities went for 6 receptions, 61 yards on the score. Brate on the year has 15 receptions, 205 yards, and 3 scores.
So you're playing him a little bit,
I'm
right?
playing him. I mean,
What about Evans? He draws Pat Peterson this week. I'm staying away.
For 6,900, he got 18 targets last year when they played in the game.
How many did he catch, though? I was talking about that earlier.
He caught 6 in the touchdown. I think it was 6.
That's
6
my problem with
72.
Evans, man. His catch rate is at best 50%. In the one that you mentioned, he was 18%. I mean, I do like that he's got blow-up potential and he's cheap. I mean, this will be probably the cheapest he's going to be all year, but that's because he's against Pat Peterson.
Yeah, I mean,
what about Doug Martin here at 5,800?
Dougie, I'm not really. The Cards ranked 5th in DVOA versus the run.
I think people are going to pay for him. He flashed real good last week, but this is a tough matchup.
It's tough, and I mean, he does have fresh legs, which do benefit him.
Any Humphreys?
Humphreys is my play. He is 4,000, which is, I think I talked to you last week on to him. Had he went off, it would have been a great play. But I mean, this so far.
You did talk me into him, and he got 5.
Yeah, he got 8.
He got 8.
Give me 3 more points, but I mean,
okay, I'll give you the 8.
This year,
right,
in the slot for Carolina, for Arizona, they got Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. He's allowed Golden Tate to go for 10 for 107. Trent Taylor, 5 receptions for 47. Then Nelson Aguilar last week, 4 for 72 in a score. Humphreys is a hell of a play. They're going to be funneling targets to the middle of the field with Brate and Humphreys. So fire them up and be confident they're going to do well.
What about Palmer at 6,100?
Palmer is a hell of a play this week. Tampa has allowed 1,236 yards through 4 games.
Oh, so you actually like him?
Yes, this week. Only this
awesome.
week. Only this week.
Okay.
So
no, we can put the asterisk there. I didn't say you had to marry him, but
I'm gonna drink some Captain after this because this is one crazy play. But I mean, through 4 games, they've allowed 1,236 yards. Remember, they had week 1 off due to the hurricane. Tampa's not a good coverage defense. I mean, they're just not. Fitz is my play here at 6,800. Balls get forced through the slot against Tampa Bay, and Fitz is going to eat. I mean, he's too genetically athletic.
I'll never argue against Fitz. I mean, what is he?
6,800.
Okay. Anybody else here? I mean, how much are you liking Ellington?
Ellington, I mean, there's so much around the mid-tier between 4,400 and 5,400 in the running backs. It's just like pick 8 guys and then filter different lineups around. I mean, I like Ellington. I mean, he has a lot of upside.
Okay. So we're going to move on to Rams at Jags. The Jags have this funnel run defense, and for some reason Todd Haley decided not to take advantage of that last week. 50 passes for Ben and 14 or 15 runs for Bell. I don't get it. I think the guys out in L.A. will get it, and I think they'll give it to my guy. I'm going to stay in the flames here. I mean, now I'm kind of glad that Gurley, didn't go off last week. He's priced at more of a value at 7,700. I think if they're going to figure out how to win against the Jags, they know this is how to do it. So I'm off of Goff this week. I'm not doing any of the Rams wide receivers for a while. Their top matchups coming up, especially for Watkins, are just ridiculous. The Jags corners might be the two best in the league. I said that last week. I love the Jags D, pairing them with Fournette. Goff is prone to mistakes. If they don't figure it out to give to Gurley like 40 times, I'm definitely not going to do that stack together. I'm going to leave those separate. But I like the Jags D with Fournette last week. That was like a 60-point stack. That was great. I'm going to do it again. Yeah, really, really good one. The Jags D, 28, 12, 15, and 28. So I'll take that. I like them for more in the 28 range than in the 12 to 15 range. Big play last week was Fournette. I'm going to do it again. Anybody else there that you like? I'm really, because of the corner situation and because of the Jags wide receiver situation, I just don't like anybody else here.
Where I'm kind of Gurley's not a bad play. The Jags have allowed 732 yards on the ground this year, which is worse in the league. I think.
How come the Steelers didn't figure that out?
It's called Todd Haley and Mike Tomlin.
Bell had a good day because he had 10 catches.
They literally have the best running back in football right now, healthy. He is the best running back in football.
Well, see, Bell had 10 catches last week, so that's another reason why I like Gurley now that they're using him out of the backfield to catch the ball. I like that play there at 77.
But they're going to funnel. If they go back to what's been winning them games, it's been Gurley. You get the dude the ball, and this dude will eat. He's averaging on the season 26.5 DK points. That's for $7,700. That's not a bad play. The play for me. The sneaky play is Tyler Higbee, filtering targets at the tight end. Goff's going to want to dump it off to either Gurley or to Higbee. Higbee last week saw 8 targets.
Okay, this is news. I don't know who this guy is, so yeah.
He's not bad. He's 2,500, which is not
2,500.
2,500, so it's sneaky. The Jags.
It won't take much to convince me to play someone for 2,500. I love the cheap plays, especially at tight end.
He's 12th among Jags are 12th among tight end DVOA. On the season, they've allowed 18 receptions for 194 yards and a touchdown.
That's good.
He's a tournament play. If you just need a salary, hey, I want to pay up for Julio, or hey, I want Gurley and Fournette together.
No, that's great. I did a lineup where I had to put somebody that I don't know that's not playing football this week, and I'm going to figure it out later. So maybe that's the play there. Anybody else here?
Fournette's not bad. The Fournette Jag stack is. Fournette's just.
Fournette's better than not bad. We're going to like that. I like that play a lot. How much is he?
He is. I think he's 78.
Yeah.
No, he's 8,000. I think
he's. I don't care. I like it.
He's just. The Rams have allowed 668 rushing yards through 5 games. He's the big thing with.
What's his for? 110 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
That's a horrible game, right?
Fournette's not. He's going to kill it. He's averaging 21.8 touches rushing the ball per game, and then 2.6 receptions per game. Most likely he will get his 7th and 8th touchdown on Sunday. Okay,
you like him for 2. So, yeah, people are going to, I think, lay off of him with recency bias, and I like the play, too. Moving on to Chargers-Raiders, Melvin Gordon was a great play last week. I actually had a Jags-Fournette stack with Gordon in there, too. The Oakland is 22nd against the run. I think that, that team, even if Carr comes back, is going to have trouble moving the ball. Everybody's like, oh, Carr's back. Carr's coming back. They weren't doing well when he was on the team before he got hurt. So I don't know about that. I like Gordon at 7,800. Rivers, I don't think is going to be a good game script. I think they're going to figure that out, so they're going to run more. I don't like that at 6,600. I'd much rather play Watson for 6,700. Crabtree's 5,800. He showed that he could play with or without Carr. Got 70 catches last week for a touchdown, 5 receptions. So that was E.J. Manuel throwing the ball. So I think I like him at $5,800. Keenan Allen's too pricey at $7,900. There's no way I'm paying that much for him. Hunter Henry, I said to put him in last week in a couple lineups, and he's going up now. And he's $4,100. For a guy that his floor is 0, I guess he's a play. Do you like Hunter at all?
Hunter's not a bad play. He's not a bad play. He's they're going up against the 24th ranked DVOA team against tight end.
Okay, have you given up on Marshawn Lynch yet?
Nope.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll let you talk about that. $5,000. I couldn't play him last week. You got 13.
I called Paulie on Saturday about Marshawn.
Yeah, and I was like, no, man, I'm not buying it.
And first off, with the Chargers side, I think Keenan Allen for the price. He's yet to see under 9 targets in a game, and you can beat the Raiders to the slot. That's just my favorite play in the league is Keenan Allen. But every time I root for him, he gets hurt. So let's not
move on.
But I mean, Keenan Allen's in a great spot.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry's in a great spot.
You like him at $4,100?
Yeah, $4,100. Tight ends against Oakland have Delaney Walker went 7 for 9 for 76. Vernon Davis 5 for 5. And 5 for 58 and scored. And then A.J. Derby. You know what team he plays for?
No.
Plays for the Broncos, and he went for 4 for 6 and 75 yards and a touchdown.
All right, well.
Henry's a hell of a player. Carr is too cheap. I think this is a get-right spot.
For Carr, who wasn't playing last week.
He's not. Yeah, they're saying right now, I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday night. That
he's going to play, you think?
I think he's going to play. So,
but you're going to play him if he plays?
I'm not going to play him, but I think it's a get right spot. I mean, that's a
okay. So do you like Crabtree? I mean, nobody likes Amari Cooper
I'm
anymore.
not on Crabtree. I'm on Cooper.
So in a tournament play, is it Cooper? Is he the play?
Cooper. I mean, he's too talented.
Again, I mean, this is probably the cheapest that you'll ever pay for him. So
yeah, I mean,
if you like him, play him. But I'm not doing it. I like Crabtree at $5,800.
My play in this game is the aforementioned Marshawn Lynch at $5,000. So far this season, the Chargers have allowed totals of this yardage on the ground in each game. So their first game, 140 yards. Second game, 111. Third, 189. Fourth, 214. And the last one, 52 yards. Literally, they get torched on the ground. They've only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns.
I mean, at $5,000, I mean, you're not vesting too much in it. So, I don't hate it that much.
I mean, 806 yards through 5 games is atrocious. So I mean,
what about anybody else? Try Will Williams?
No, I mean, he's a deep ball.
Travis Benjamin?
I just can't. I mean, I'd rather have Jamison Crowder at 4,000. I mean,
see, to me on this game, Melvin Gordon just jumps off the page at $7,800. What do you say? 35 points last week.
He's not bad, but I think his ownership will inflate too high.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe fade. We were talking about trying to fit a lineup in where we could do like Gordon and Kareem Hunt and Fournette. And then I decided, we should probably fade the one that makes the most sense. I mean, if you're saying fade Gordon, he is very expensive. I mean, that might be the, if I would have faded Gurley last week, I would have been a lot better off. So Steelers at Chiefs, love this game, big game. So Bell's too pricey for me, $9,600. I mean, I hardly ever say to play him, but I mean, I just don't see him catching 10 balls this week like he did last week. There's guys I'd rather have. I'd rather have Fournette, Gordon. I'd rather have Hunt. I'd rather have Devontae Freeman, believe it or not, just because I know that, there's a good chance that they both get 25. And if that happens, Bell's way too pricey at 96. I love 8,200 for Hunt. I say pay up for him every week. Last week he went up to 8,500. I said go ahead and pay it. I mean, he didn't blow up, but he didn't hurt you too bad. And now he's gone down to 8,200, and he's at home, and the Chiefs are just struggling. So I like that play. I like maybe the Juju Smith-Schuster or Martavius Bryant. I'm going to let you choose which one you like. Juju Smith-Schuster is only $3,600. He's gotten like 9 the last 2 weeks, maybe a good cash game play. But he gets 6 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets. But whoever's lining up against Terrence Mitchell is going to have a feast. So what's the cornerback matchup there?
The quarterback matchup is Martavius Bryant for $4,700.
Is he playing Terrence Mitchell?
He'll be on Terrence Mitchell.
Okay, then I'm in there. I'm in because he's a big tournament upside guy. He hasn't hit that game this year. And if this is that game and you hit him and you pair him with some of these other guys I've been talking about, I like it. I'm glad you're talking about that. Any interest at Smith here at 64?
It's not bad. I mean, the whole thing with Bryant, he's just... Other thing against Terrence Mitchell, he has a 0.2 of a second. He's 0.2 faster on his 40-yard than Terrence Mitchell was. So, and Martavius Bryant is a freak athlete. I think he's a hell of a play. Juju Smith-Schuster at $3,600. The dude is a USC alum.
Oh, really? All right.
Yes, I love my USC alums.
He's been getting the targets. You like him?
He's been getting the targets. Slot receivers against... the Chiefs have went for 14 catches, 200 yards, and 1 score this year.
Their defensive corners are not good.
They're not.
Everybody talks about Peters. He gets burned deep. So do you like Brown at 9,300?
Brown's not bad. It's just hard to I mean, he's 1,000 more than the next receiver.
Right. So are you paying up way more for Julio than Brown?
I'll pay for Julio rather than Brown. I mean, the other thing with Schuster is that on even numbered weeks, so we're on week 6, he scores touchdowns. So week 2 he scored a touchdown. Week 4 he scored a touchdown. Hey, it's week 6. He's gonna score a touchdown.
I like it at $3,600, but I'm also paying up for Antonio Brown this week. When I'm, doing these value lineups, it allows me to pay up for a couple positions. This is one I really want to pay up for because he's shown that without Ben even having any confidence in himself, he could still catch 8 to 12 balls a game. I don't care if he doesn't get in the end zone for the rest of the year. It looks like his floor is 25 points right now, and I'll take it. He still has the upside of. He's gotten 40 before and easily, right?
It's a get right spot for Ben. I mean, he's been criticized in the media. If you were to play Ben with an Antonio Brown,
see, I said the Ben stack on the road the other week, and it just didn't work out, and I'm scared of it.
It's not. I mean, the narrative that he sucks on the road, it's true, but I mean, you're gonna get that like 2 to 3%. He's
going to have to get angry here at some point. Any interest in Smith to Tyreek Hill, especially with Kelsey maybe in a concussion? If Kelsey plays at $6,100, he's a great play. Mm-hmm. But I like the Smith to Hill stack for 12-8. I think that the Steelers are pretty good defenders, but they're going to really hurt when he moves around the field like he does.
You think Pittsburgh has good defenders?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody thinks Pittsburgh has a good defense, right? I mean. They're not the 1999 Steelers.
I want you guys to hear this. So, Paulie says that Pittsburgh has a good secondary. They faced Deshaun Kaiser, Case Keenum, Mike Glennon, Joe Flacco, and Blake Bortles.
That's not a murderer's row, is it?
No.
Okay, so there's the perception there is that that's a bad matchup, and that's what people look at, and they don't dive in like he does. That's why he's here. So, that's a really, really, really good point.
For $6,400, you get Alex Smith. His floor is 15 points, ceiling of 34.
Yeah.
I think you play him single. You play him alone.
You don't like him with the Hill stack, especially if Kelsey's out.
Hill's not a bad play. I mean, they're 19th in DVOA against wide receiver ones. He did score on last year. But, I mean, he didn't – he's a burner. He's going to beat you down the field. I think the play is Kareem Hunt at 8,200. Against 2 proven running backs that the Steelers have faced, the 2 proven running backs were Jordan Howard and Leonard Fournette and whoever their counterparts are. Both teams went for over 450 yards combined on the ground.
Oh.
So
Hunt might break the record this week. I mean, but he's got this potential.
The biggest thing with Hunt, he's not getting this usage. And he's not getting usage. Like he's not getting the ball 15, 16, 17 times. He's getting the ball 13, 14. Like in the past 3 weeks, he's averaged 25 touches. You're going to give this man 25 touches, he will eat.
Yeah.
Against
and I think he might get closer to like Bell had like 29 touches last week. I think you're getting that $9,300 Le'Veon Bell for $8,200, and I think he'll be better than Bell. So I'm glad you agree with me there. I think Hunt's the play. I've been saying this for weeks, and I'm cashing in these tournaments, guys.
Hunt is the play.
That's it, guys. So again, listen to a lot of analysis. I mean, I know that, this is just a pastime for all of us. You only have so much time, but hopefully you've taken the time to watch my special edition. We went over an hour here. Under an hour, 54 minutes. But hopefully you stayed with us and it was entertaining. I want you guys to win some money playing these guaranteed prize purses and then maybe some cash games too with some of the guys that Jackson was talking about. Jackson, thanks for coming out.
I appreciate it.
All right, great. Well, go out and win some money, guys.
Have a good one, guys.